thing about those days was, one of the big problems was equipment. There was no gear that you could go and buy. In fact, you couldn't even buy strings. You had to wait for somebody to go abroad to order a set of strings. I remember the first keyboard I bought, I was doing recordings in the studio to sort of supplement my income, and I had to go to Hong Kong. I had to fly to Hong Kong to actually buy my first keyboard. And I went there for 5 days, and I sat in a music store for 5 days actually checking out every piece of equipment there. I didn't see anything of Hong Kong except the airport, the hotel room, and this one store. It was tough, but you learned from the experience of really actually getting shafted, not getting paid. You realize that if you really wanted to sort of set a benchmark, get a little professional, travel a little comfortably, or you had to take care of these things. You just couldn't expect to land up and expect them to be done.
One of the things we learned also was who should be doing the negotiating in the band. Because the one time Mahesh was allowed to negotiate on behalf of the band, he quoted 3,000 rupees for a concert and said that it was negotiable.
That's my job, negotiate.
3,000 rupees and it's negotiable. All of us were in shock.
I remember the first Delhi IIT show I did. We came back to Mark's house and we did some accounts, and at the end of it, Mahesh showed the band 40 rupees.
We used to have something called band account.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, making us feel good that actually we are not really paying for it. It's going to be band account, but actually we used to spend the money, just anticipation of future profits, we used to call it. So it's to go and drink and spend the money before we actually had the show. So
sort of this thing that big banks are doing all over the world today.
The sinking fund, literally.
So when we actually did the show, we were actually in the red. We didn't, get any money.
And then of course, then there was the album, and we were actually, it was a pretty interesting, very interesting time for us, because we were approached by a gentleman called Mr. R.V. Pandit, who was actually a publisher, book publisher.
He bought CBS.
Yeah, he started CBS India, so he was distributing CBS America's music in India, which is Michael Jackson and Madonna and that kind of stuff. But he was very keen to promote Indian talent as well, and he'd heard of us, and this elderly gentleman signed a deal with us to record an album of all original rock music made in India. And that's when we recorded the album Rock and Roll Renegade. And just being in there, all of us in the studio recording this stuff and listening to these songs coming down on tape was just a great, great feeling. And finally when we put the album together and put it out, it was great. It really felt good.